This is Johnny Depp, and we're here in Hollywood, California, downtown Hollywood, California, and we're shooting a film called Ed Wood. We're in a meat plant, and we're shooting a scene where we're having the wrap party for Bride of the Monster, a film that Ed Wood made, and it's a scene where I do a striptease in a meatpacking plant. And we're having a wonderful time, a swell time, a fantastic time. We've got Bill Murray, we've got Sarah Jessica Parker, Martin Landau, myself. We've got plenty of people, and it's great. And Tim Burton's the director, and he's directing the film and meat. And Tim's a swell guy. I worked with him once before, where I played someone named Ed. Twice I've done it for him. Ed.
Hey, smoke him if you got him, everybody, and action!
Your hands come up a little sooner. Can you even go more of a grimace, Jim? Lower your corners of your mouth. Go make a sad. Yeah, one side's going up, one side's going down. You had it. It's funny. There, yeah. Open your mouth. It's funny. There, see, it's funny. When you relax, it goes down. The corners of your mouth go down. So just relax. Okay, just relax and just slightly open your mouth. See, that's even better. Be standing by in case if we want to accentuate that. Why don't you do it? Okay. And as your head comes up, I may cue you for your hands to come up, okay? When it looks right. Okay. So just let them come straight up, you know, like this. Just like this. Come out like this. And then good. Action, Jim. Hands. Go right in there. Keep straight. Struggle. Be a little lower and struggle. There you go. And cut. Cut. Good. Jim, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. The only thing on the hands, make it a little slower once they like this. You can see, just let them come. Okay, let them come up, out, and stay there for a second before you start to go over. Okay? Good. Very good. Okay, light it, and then move it in. Okay, good, Sean. Up and down right there. That's right. Enjoy the show. What a show. We're cut. That's pretty good. Yeah, that tight. Okay. And make it a little bigger too if you want. It's like, it's great. You get stuck, let it fall a little bit, and then
bring it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Print that.
wash me too much. I'd rather see it.
Roll sound.
Roll it!
Yep. Okay, try with the thing up there. Put the thing up. Have it up there, and up a little higher. There you go. The smoke. Okay, and action. Action. Okay, now look one side. Something great. And then look the other side. Okay, put the thing back up and cut. Do that. And cut. Okay. And put it back up your face again. Call out and a little lower, a little higher. Okay, a little bit more to the center. The other way. There you go. And go ahead. Action. One side. That's right. Mug on one side. There you go. Then the other way. Very good. Look straight ahead. Look straight ahead and kind of give that, just shake your head like this is the great. Okay. Cut.
I can't see anything yet. Less smoke. What happens if I see it come in? Yeah.
Yeah.
If you just travel across, I'm not sure whether this is the right spot either. Yeah. That's right. So blow this out, John, and then let's test the smoke right now.
I think we're only gonna do the end with Mark. Fighting at the octave.
I like to eat them, I don't like that.
Okay, let's see you guys in position again, please, one more time. Hey, John, and then once, okay, yeah, just stay there. Okay, good. Ryan. A little rain. I'll tell you what. Conrad and Paul, move a little bit more behind Johnny, behind him, and Danny, yeah, move in a little bit more. Move that box in just a touch more. Whoa. Okay. Okay, ready? Yeah, Johnny, let's see. I have a. This is kind of good.
Maybe not.
And then Johnny, sit down like you're gonna do, and then talk like you're gonna talk, then get up and. Yeah, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mark.
All right, so shall we shoot? Should we do the thing with Mark?
Tony?
Let's make the film even longer than it already is.
Yeah, let's do that.
I got some other ideas.
Is this for the whole thing or?
It's the whole shebang.
No, I mean his look, the whole shebang.
That's right.
So that's him standing there.
Yeah, that's him
And in the
standing
water.
there. So you guys, that's him standing there. You know, it looked like you guys were looking up just an odd angle. So this is better. Yeah. How's that look, Phil? Okay.
Actually, I can hear it very low.
Are you gonna say something?
Yeah.
And Danny, when he does that, just kind of look like, well, wait a minute. You know, we didn't have any tonight. Right. We didn't order it tonight.
We didn't steal it.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll be fighting with the octopus.
Out there.
Yes.
What happened to the stream?
This is gonna look a lot better. We're gonna match it with the underwater stock footage of the octopus underwater and all that.
Oh, for Christ's sake. God damn, it's cold.
It'll warm up once you get in it.
Fuck you. You come out here. Hey, throw me that whiskey.
Nice.
How do you turn this thing on?
Well, somebody misplaced the motor for the octopus, so once you get in there, just shake his legs around a bit. It'll look like it's killing you.
All right. Action.
John, maybe at the end, you want to get up and cut, and so we see you better.
Yeah.
You know?
Actually, I'll creep in.
Exactly.
And cut.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. And if you could find a way to stay up, just like, perfect. Beautiful. Just up here. You know now? Yeah.
Why don't you give us the guy that's going to go
Good, you
back and
guys.
see if it falls on the water. The whole trip last night was not to seem like I've limited.
Yeah. But it look, it's like you're cold, frozen. You didn't look like that.
No, I tried not. It's good.
It's actually not from the top.
It's just from him fighting the octopus. So you hardly even have to act on this one, any of you.
This is for, well, this is after, I just thrown the bottle back.
Yeah, just threw the bottle back and actually call action. Yeah.
He has to do that.
Yeah, guys do all that, Greg, just to go up into it. Okay?
Absolutely.
Well, whatever, don't worry, just do it. I was just gonna
And even roll it.
don't worry about it. I was gonna say,
Safe here, right?
beg your pardon?
Okay, here we
Body is
go.
safe here, right?
Quiet, please.
Yeah, Martin, just to start, just be a hair to your right. There you go. That's fine.
I'll take it from that.
Yeah, great. Okay, ready?
Ready? Here we go.
Too late, Eric. Very good. Thank you, John.
And roll sound. Rolling.
It. Kenny, give me a bit more at the beginning, okay? Okay.
Yeah, marker. And action! All right, let's put it on film. Camera.
Rolling.
Sound. Yes, we don't have sound. Oh. And action. Ah! 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 And cut. That was perfect. Just perfect. Okay. Great. Great. There he is.
Yeah, I was gonna do it at the end. I'm gonna have to shine a flash to his face.
I thought he really had it.
Dude, I want okay. Okay, good.
Thank you. Martin, that was great.
I got 2 grades.
Yeah. You got 2 from him and 1 from me. So that's 3. Okay, let's call it an
They call
evening.
when you first get in.
All right. Thank you all.
Thanks so much.
Good night, Martin. That's it. Listen, we can actually shoot the big underwater sequence now. Great. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. Well, a fine mess you got me into this time, Ollie.
Anyway, I've got to get back to the film now, because we have to shoot this film called Ed Wood. Thank you, and good night.
You will come under my spell. You will be my slave of love.
My gosh, Bella, how do you do that?
You must be double-jointed. And you must be young Aryan.
One of the things I said to Tim right off the bat, I said, what you've got here is a 74-year-old Hungarian morphine addict, alcoholic, who has mood swings. That would be hard enough. But he has to be Bela Lugosi, who everyone knows. I said, this could be the worst thing that ever happened. There are a lot of elements in Lugosi's career and as a man and what he stood for, what he cared about, his successes, his disappointments. There were a lot of things I understood intuitively and innately. So there is a lot of me. I don't know whether everything I am is in Lugosi, but I was able to do a lot of things. I also saw a lot of humor. Because it's a Tim Burton movie, there's a certain kind of style that's needed. I mean, it can't be exactly a kitchen sink kind of approach to a character. It is a comedy. It is somewhat extended, and there's a life of a certain kind.
Aren't you scared, little boy? I'm going to drink your blood.
You're not a real vampire. Those teeth don't frighten me.
Very early age, when I was about 10, I decided what I wanted to do was be the guy who makes the monsters for the movies and do the makeups. And you know, Karloff, I'm a bigger Karloff fan than a Lugosi fan, but both of them, they're the two masters of horror.
Karloff?
Fuck you! Karloff does not deserve to smell my shit!
I had read in the trades that Tim Burton was going to do this movie about Ed Wood, and that Martin was going to play Bela Lugosi. And I just said to myself, I have to do this. You know, I felt it was really important, because I'm a Bela Lugosi fan and actually an Ed Wood fan, you know, and I knew that a lesser makeup artist might do too much, you know, and I really felt it was important to keep him human, you know, and to be subtle about it. So I wrote Tim a letter and I said, I have to do this. Even if I have to do it for free, I'll do it.
Too constrictive. I can't even fold my arms.
It's easier many times to do more. You know, Martin's face was not ideal to play Bela Lugosi, but I thought it was good enough that I could kind of get the essence of Lugosi, you know, without an exact copy of that. You know, I have a life cast of Bela that was taken by a makeup artist by the name of Clay Campbell for a film called Return of the Vampire. And, you know, Bela had this very kind of round face, and Martin's face is much longer, and you know, Martin's got a great big upper lip, and Bela has like no upper lip at a long distance there. And I thought, you know, I think I can still do this. And I mean, it really was a case of less is more. The way the process starts is, you know, I mean, I took a life cast of Martin, and then I sculpted on his life cast these new features. And the first thing I did was the nose, and he had that cleft chin. So I did those two things, and the lip. And his ears were wrong, so I added ears. What else was there? Let me see. Nose, chin, lip. Yeah, I think that was it.
Well, it's coming along. We're not quite finished yet, but soon.
I didn't actually apply the makeup on a daily basis. V. Neal applied the makeup. It turned out in the black and white photography that the way that I originally painted it, it needed some more work. So V ended up actually painting it very much more theatrically than I did. But in the black and white film, it looked better.
She's an artist, this lady. Right away, I feel Hungarian. He hated being stuck with his accent. It hurt his career. In fact, one of the things I did, which very few people know, excepting Peter Medak, who's a Hungarian director, called when he saw it, and he said, Martin, it's the best Hungarian I've seen outside of Budapest. And I said, thank you. He said, because you are not an actor trying to do a Hungarian accent, you're a character trying not to, which is exactly what I did. I learned the accent, I learned where the tongue goes, and I tried not to do it, which is what he did. Now that's a subtle choice, but it's exactly what I did. I couldn't find tapes, Hungarian dialect tapes, so I bought Hungarian language tapes and literally would practice the language and see where the tongue would go and try and, I wanted the accent to be perfect. I wanted everything to be perfect. And there were very many differences between us. I watched 35 Lugosi films and then 4 or 5 interviews that exist on one that's actually staged that he did in the very early 30s with this gal, and it's kind of cute because he scares him in the end. There's a still photograph that appeared in newspapers. Check it out. It's a photograph that appeared in tabloids, and Lugosi was the first one who publicly went into a rehabilitation place and publicly announced it. There's a shot that I used as a guide. He looked shriveled and small, and I did that. I looked teeny. And I wanted to. I wanted to look as if all the juice had oozed out of him. I wanted to look like the picture, the actual picture, because it told me something about how he was. He didn't live too long after that, you know. So he looked like he was made out of balsa wood, that he was going to break, because he was a powerful actor. He had an enormous strength and force, and we didn't get to see the kinds of things he was capable of doing it, you know, because he wasn't permitted to. He should have done some classical stuff, but, you know, accents.
As I mentioned, you know, I said I would do this for free if I had to, and I practically did, you know, because it really was a labor of love. I really wanted to do it. It was important to me to do it, and you know, some people are kind of thinking, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you even bothering to do this? You know, it was kind of a little film and so on, but you know, it paid off. I mean, that little labor of love kind of project got me an Oscar, you know, and got Martin one as well.
My aim was to make him sad and funny at the same time, without ridiculing him. I wanted it to be an homage, a love letter to him. There was a piece written when I got the New York Film Critics Award. It's quite beautiful. So the Oscar goes to Martin Landau, its shadow goes to Bela Lugosi.
Greetings, my friend. You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Yeah, it was my first production design job. Tim called me. He goes, "You got to do this movie. You got to do this movie." He'd hired somebody, but it wasn't working out. Of course, I didn't sleep again for the next month. I hit the ground running. We had sets shooting like in the next couple of days that weren't done, and it was the art department was in chaos. The biggest challenge for me is that I'd never done a black and white movie before, and that was the big challenge because I really didn't know how to do it. I talked to people that had done black and white movies. How do you do black and white movies? And basically, there's two ways that they talked about doing. You paint the sets in shades of gray, because as I said before, the contrast is the most important thing I found in doing a black and white film. So things don't just fade out or blend in. You got to keep contrast in mind. And I talked to people who said, no, do it in color. Just be aware of how the colors react to black and white film. So I bought a little Polaroid camera and a mile of black and white film. And every set, every colored sample, I shot in black and white. So I could see. I had rows of little pictures of Polaroids in all the different colors and stuff. So I could pick something. I could see what would go together. The lights and the dark. Red is the only color that goes weird. It can go dark or it can go light in black and white. So I kind of stayed away from red. Everything else was greens, yellows, grays, blacks. I mean, things you can count on.
I mean, I can't see the difference. I'm colorblind. But I kind of like the dark gray one.
Well, in every movie, I do a book. I bind it. It's basically has the whole movie in it. This is the inspiration for the first house at the beginning of the movie. This is very Italianate, very Gothic. The other one I picked was a little simpler. This is a sketch for the opening where Jeffrey Jones sits up and the camera goes through the window and the lightning flash. These are Xeroxes of sketches, so they were much bigger and a little bit nicer than these, but this is what I could squeeze into the book. This is a sketch of the original Hollywood model. We wanted a really kind of cool 50s model of Hollywood, but to do Hollywood in the 50s, there's these certain icons, the Max Factor building, the Warner Theater. There's a whole bunch of Hollywood icons, but they're miles apart, they're blocks apart. So I just kind of took the license and I squeezed everything. So if you watch that movie, you'll see a lot of buildings that are blocks apart in Hollywood, but I squeezed them so they could be in the one shot. You'll see all kinds of buildings. Some are on Highland and some are like on Vine, but they're all like in this one block here. And I put this one theater, the Warner Theater, you can tell it has these little actually they were large radio towers, and I thought it was very funny when we did the shot to use them as goalposts. So actually I had them bring the camera down across here, pull through these two radio towers, and then down the building, and it blends into the casual theater for the opening shot of the movie. Lightning flashes is when they do the blend. And this is another angle of the same thing. Oh, this might be the goofy one. That's it. This is the model from the opening of the movie. And then actually in the movie, Ed Wood does a model of Hollywood. And it had to be bad enough that it didn't look good, but it couldn't be so bad that it was too jokey and unbelievable. So we did this one. This is where they're lighting the paper plates on fire, dangled from fishing rods. And it was actually tougher to do this model than this one, because I could say just make it perfect. And this one is like, you can't make it, and it can't be too bad. You had to find the fine line between bad and good. I'd seen Plan 9 from Outer Space, and I'd seen Bride of the Monster. I'd never seen Glen or Glenda, and I didn't really know. I knew he was like considered not a great director, but I didn't know. I mean, now I know all about him and like that, and it's a much deeper story than, you know, back when I didn't know anything about him. But yeah, I learned everything there is to know. I know all his movies now, just about everything you can know about you know, Ed Wood. One thing I talked to Tim about, he wanted to do the sets that had to do with the movies, but he wanted to make them as much like those as possible. So I just studied those things and tried to figure out what made those sets unique. One thing they had that was really unique is flatness. There was no depth to the sets. They were flat. The paint was flat. There wasn't like reflections and depth and glazes. It was flat paint, and the colors had a certain contrast. This is from Bride of the Monster. The two girls meet in the hallway, and basically you can see this is myself down here. I don't know if you can see it. It's showing that black and white are the same thing, trying to match the flatness and the contrast of the original set. I would take black and white pictures of everything. And here's the actual green and the two colors that I used. I'm partial to green since I've done a lot of movies with a lot of green in them, and I figured that it looked nice on the set to the eye, and it had the same contrast values as the original. So that's how we kind of did it. We went through scene by scene. Here's a scene from the I Have No Home scene with Bela. And this is the wallpaper and the flooring that we found. This is from Secondhand Rose in New York. We searched all over to get as close to the feeling of the textures and values of what was in the original film. We searched around. We looked all over LA. We ended up with a company in New York. They're famous for their old wallpapers. We had the little privacy screen there. We had it hand done, and muralists actually painted the little flowers on there. This is what I also put in the books. I put sketches and drawings of all the sets. Here's a set of a camera store that wasn't in the movie. It was a nice looking little set where Ed Wood goes to try to get some camera equipment, and the guy won't loan it to him because he owes him money. But I believe this was left out of the film.
But that shows you that the colors you used.
Yeah,
though.
this shows I didn't do the movie in black and white. I did it in color, and I used like old style 50s graphics, made up Highland camera. It was supposed to be Hollywood, and everybody knows Highland's sort of in Hollywood, so I picked that as the name. And we had a little thing in here. We had an actor at a counter, and it was a good-looking little set, but you know, didn't make it. Too much shoe leather, I guess. These are actually one of the theaters that we did do. Everything was simple and graphic. There wasn't a lot of, texture stuff. It was graphic, simple. The poster. This is the one I did. It was originally, the real movie was called Glen or Glenda, and I had to change a bunch of stuff the night before. And I even put wallpaper. This one is where Bela is doing his first scene, and he gets incensed that someone compares him to Boris Karloff, and he goes off on Boris Karloff. This is from one of the apartment sets that Johnny lived in. This is from the I Have No Home scene that I showed you previously. And this is from the scene where Johnny Depp is sitting on a couch reading, and he has this thinking about in Glen or Glenda when he thinks about wearing women's clothes. This is a very close match to the original wall. And we photograph everything in black and white first. I have to be sure that there's, if for instance this red blended into the gray and it looked gray, I'd have to come in and I would have to have the painters brighten it up. But this wallpaper worked fine because there's a lot of chroma in that red. It's really a bright red. A duller red, like a more earthy red, might have a tendency to blend in a gray, and I might have to touch up a little bit. I used a lot of vinyls and linoleums that tried to give it the 50s period. And we had one scene where Sarah Jessica Parker and Johnny had a scene in a kitchen, a 50s kitchen, and it was fun to make the little kitchen, but in the research I saw this really cool floor that they had, and I wanted to do a really cool floor for our set. Well, we looked around, we couldn't find any of that really cool linoleum, although I did come across a linoleum rug at Secondhand Rose in New York, and it was really expensive. I think it was $4,500 or something for a 9x12 rug. It's just a piece of loose linoleum, and it's really beautiful little borders and stuff on it, and I just had to have it. It made that set. It was really a beautiful thing. You really only see it a little bit in the movie, but it really finished the set. You walk in, and you saw this cute little 50s streamlined kind of set with this great linoleum floor, and I was happy. It was a lot of money for it, and I know it got ruined.
Say, have you always lived in Los Angeles?
No. This was the Carnival from Ed Wood, and there's a color shot, and this is the black and white. This is how it could have looked in the movie. This is up in near Eagle Rock, near a big power plant, and we just had this. It was kind of cheesy, you know, the bulbs are burned out. They just did it so you get to see the light versus dark contrast thing that's so important in black and white. Tim wanted to do a fun house, and he has a certain graphic imagination he wanted. He wanted these graphic images on the front of this fun house, and we talked a lot about it, and we did a bunch of series of sketches, and this is what came up with, and we had a scenic artist, Ron Strang, painted up on tin, because the concept behind the whole fun house was like it was a trailer pulled behind a semi-truck, you know, and they could just unfold it into this fun house and drive the little car around inside, like a typical Carney show. Some shots of the spook house. These are the color shots, and there's the black and white shots, night shots. So everything's underlit, the glowing skull. Very wispy, scary stuff. These are Polaroids. These are color Polaroids of the Funhouse ride and the skull. These are actually color, because it wasn't a paint job here, but this, you can see it's an Edvard Munch kind of face. Tim is very partial to Edvard Munch, and I thought it'd be funny to have a little ghostly Edvard Munch face on the Funhouse. These are some of the graphics for the front of the spook house. A little bit different from what was inside. Yeah, these are a little bit more erotic than you might picture for a typical Carney Funhouse ride. And then we just developed a whole series of little kind of Funhouse gags that were really simple and kind of, again, naive in their style. I mean, we had skeleton arms trying to grab you as you came through. Then the coffin opens and a Dracula character comes out and bats fly around in circles, really simply done. We had skeleton heads with little wispy diaphanous fabric kind of pop up, and with a little light gag. We had a gorilla kind of bouncing up and down. Beyond, we had, which was my favorite one, we had the Grim Reaper with this Reaper just kind of coming right over your head. Johnny just kind of ducks and doesn't really know what it is. A spiked door closes, they go by, and they stall right in front of the guillotine with the bobbing heads, and that's when he tells Patricia Arquette that he likes to wear women's clothes, and she's okay about it. And here's, you know, some of the bobbing head sketches. I forget which ones we actually ended up with. Some of the Dracula heads. We didn't do that one. For the and these are actually some of the foam models that we ended up with for the Funhouse. The inside, we were running out of money at the end of the movie, and they didn't want to spend a lot of money in the Funhouse, so I wanted to do a campy 50s, again, naive design Funhouse. So what I did, I took all the leftover sets from the movie, the wall pieces, and I cut them in all odd shapes, influenced by an episode of Twilight Zone that Tim liked. And I sprayed a really heavy texture that I used on Batman Returns, sprayed all over the walls, drippy, gooey plaster, and then we painted it black and burnished it in silver to bring out the texture. And I just kind of set it all at weird angles, so as the little car would go through, you'd have all these weird angles and lighting opportunities. It's German expressionism, okay? Angles, very strong lighting pattern, shadows, very dark, like film noir, but like German expressionists. Yeah, that's very popular. Tim loves that stuff, and we've done it several times with him. It's really good stuff. I always look for some concept. That's one thing. When Bo Welch and I work together, he always comes up with great concepts for movies and little things and jokes and background things that give it a different level. You know, there's different levels in movies: the obvious plot and subplots, and the other little things in the background that just give it a little bit more than just filming a set. And in this movie, flying saucers were a recurring image. So I tried to have some image of a flying saucer in every set. Everything's a big round disc flying over everyone's head. And that was a little homage to the flying saucer craze of the 50s that I threw in there that some people picked it up, you know. It was one of those little fun things to do. It's a little behind-the-scenes kind of joke you throw into movies.
This is the ultimate Ed Wood movie. No compromises.
He had a certain naive style that it's really refreshing. Now everything is kind of overproduced and over-massaged digitally. He had a really fresh way of doing a movie. Set the camera up, shoot, move on. You know, that scene where they're rolling on the Hollywood street and the cops show up. Whoop, you know, they gotta go. You know, that's kind of, it's like the Dogma style nowadays. You know, just go and shoot it, and no, you know, $20 million of digital work and overproduced.
You flying saucer?
And there's something refreshing about that. It gives it a look, you know, but I find it a humorous look. It's different, definitely different.
Cut, Brent, we're moving on. That was perfect. Perfect.
Tim sent me a lot of Ed Wood's films to watch. He had a great collection of them. And from viewing that, I thought of a lot of things sort of flooded, you know, through my mind. And it's a great period in music, the 50s. Sort of a convergence of bebop, jazz, and Cuban music was coming up. Science fiction, film music was interesting. Mancini was doing Touch of Evil, which was a kind of a groundbreaking score in film music because it used jazz and it used it in a very particular way to score the film. The theremin specifically came, I guess, from the horror movies of that time, Day the Earth Stood Still in particular. And I thought it might be something that Ed would have used if he'd had the budget to have found somebody to play it, and they were hard to find people who could actually play it at the time. The theremin was developed in the 20s by Leon Theremin. It's a Russian-built, very first electronic instrument, built for classical music. There's a great Russian thereminist, Lydia Kavina, she lives in Moscow. She's Theremin's great niece. And she studied with the inventor, Leon Theremin. And we tried to get her a visa. She was very interested. We tried to get her a visa to get to London for the recording sessions, which was nearly impossible to do because she had a Russian passport. It was really difficult. And in the meantime, as the sessions were going on, I was working with Cynthia Miller, who's the Owens Martineau player. The Owens Martineau is a French version of the theremin that was built in the 30s. The Owens has a more gentle sound, a more French sound to it. Cynthia Miller could actually make the Owens sound like a theremin, and she was creating some of the theremin parts until Lydia arrived. And then finally she got to London and she showed up with her theremin in a backpack on her back. And Tim and I were both, I think, expecting, you know, one of those grand theremin creations, those big wooden boxes, you know, which you see from the 20s. And she had kind of the transistor model, so when she took it out, it was really funny, you know, because it was just this very sort of thin Formica topped little, you know, electronic unit. And but when she plugged it in, she was unbelievable. She recorded with the orchestra, and then we worked with her also on her own as well.
This is a theremin.
It's an electronic musical instrument, and it's played by moving one's hands through the air. As you can see, one can control changes in pitch with the right hand and changes in volume with the left hand. Well, this is an electronic musical instrument, and to explain its function in exact technical terms, it can be described as an instrument based on the beat frequency oscillator. And a beat frequency oscillator is a combination of two oscillators wherein the frequency of one of the oscillators is fixed and then the frequency of the second oscillator is variable. Those two frequencies mix, and the resultant frequency is the audio frequency which we hear. The variable frequency oscillator is connected to the pitch antenna, and by moving one's hand, one varies that frequency. The greater the difference between the two oscillators, the higher the pitch, because the resultant audio frequency is, in a sense, the difference between the two frequencies, or the summation. This antenna is, in a sense, one part of a capacitor. Your hand is the other part of a capacitor, and by varying the distance between the two parts or plates of a capacitor, one changes the capacitance of the circuit. Because it's a high-frequency circuit, your body is seen as ground, and your hand is seen as a variable capacitor with respect to this. And so by changing the capacitance of the circuit, the resultant frequency of the variable frequency capacitor inside, the variable frequency oscillator inside changes, and that results in the resultant audio frequency that you hear.
It was considered a new and wonderful voice and music to write for, and composers were interested in it. I think maybe Hollywood kind of took it to task more in terms of science fiction. It was not really creative.
It is.
Now, why do I always get hooked up with these spook details? Monsters, graves, bodies. You flying saucer?
And cut, print. We're moving on. That was perfect.